Mark Twain once said, "Never regret the things that made you smile." Now, this may seem like obvious advice. Who would regret something that brought them happiness? However, it's not as simple as it sounds, and it's a lesson I've had to learn over the years through the relationships that I've built. Over the years, we are able to form important relationships as time goes on. But some of these are bound to end, as Forbes claims that 70% of our friendships and 52% of our social networks dissolve after just 7 years. Nevertheless, this shouldn't be a cause for a sense of regret or loss that the relationship has ended, but rather a sense of appreciation that it existed in the first place. When I was younger, I could never really come to terms with the fact that the friendships that I built would dissipate. My father, in order to make this lesson more palatable, compared the journey of life to that of a train path. The milestones we reach are like the train stops along the way, and the people who enter and exit our lives are like the passengers who board and depart the train. But ultimately, we're all working towards an end goal, to reach a final destination. And though our paths may intertwine, we do have to accept that other people and our friends and our close relationships do have their own goals to reach as well. So when the time has come for them to depart, we should share the sentiment that the relationship was what mattered and that the bond was a catalyst for further growth as individuals. Oftentimes, we may dwell on the regret or loss of an ended relationship, but even BBC claims that it's only natural for friends and even acquaintances to fall by the wayside, and it's nothing to feel guilty about. I've rather recently had to come to terms with this inevitable loss in the form of a friendship I had at a young age. I made friends with a girl 2 years older than me whom I considered close in elementary school. We stayed close and we were friends for almost 10 years. And although the difference in our age didn't initially affect our relationship, it did eventually cause small gaps to form between us. We each made friends in our own grades, and eventually she moved on to her next milestone, college, leaving us on different paths. At first, it was hard to come to terms with the fact that a friend I had for so long had now moved on to her own goals. But eventually, I was able to realize that I should be appreciating the time that we spent together and the experiences we shared and the memories that I've created. Now, I know that I've mostly been speaking from the perspective of a teenager, but I'm sure even for the adults in the room, there have been times, whether it was when you first moved out or when you got your first job, where you've built relationships with like-minded people. And likely, there have been people who you once considered very close to you, who have now gone on their own paths. These relationships, while in the past, are still crucial in leading each of you to your next goal, your next milestone, and towards a nearing final stop. What I mean to say is that it's only natural for relationships to form and conclude as time goes on. But instead of dwelling in this regret or loss of an ended relationship, wouldn't it be better to recognize that though your paths may not intertwine anymore, you can still focus on the future while accepting the past? The relationships we've built should not be shrouded by the fact that they may eventually end, but rather emphasized by the fact that they allow us to grow. Thank you.